Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this. The dream of owning a beautiful place on the water, maybe somewhere like Muskoka's Lake of Bays, sounds incredible, right?
Oh, absolutely. The ideal getaway.
But then the reality hits. The enormous cost, the never-ending maintenance, just the sheer amount of work involved. Sometimes it feels like more stress than sanctuary.
It really can be. That's where these alternative models, like fractional ownership, come into play. They promise, or at least aim for, access to those prime spots without the full burden.
Exactly. And what's interesting, and maybe a bit confusing sometimes, is how different these models can be.
Yeah.
Fractional ownership isn't just one thing.
Not at all. It varies quite a bit depending on the property and the developer.
Right. And that's why our mission for this deep dive is super specific. We've got this material detailing one particular place, the landscapes on Lake of Bays.
Okay.
So we're going to pull apart exactly what ownership looks like there, strictly based on the details they've provided. It's really a focused look at this specific setup.
Got it. So we're using the info provided almost like a map to understand the landscape's specific structure, their flavor of fractional ownership.
Precisely. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding the ins and outs of what this property is offering. So let's dive right in. How does the material actually define fractional ownership at the landscapes?
Okay, so they describe it as a form of carefree shared ownership. That's the phrase they use.
Carefree shared ownership.
And the structure itself is quite specific. You own a 1/10 share, just 1/10 of a furnished cottage or an attached villa.
A 10th share. And they call that share an interval, right? I saw that term.
That's the one. You own that interval in your particular unit, but, and this is pretty crucial from the details, it's not just about your unit.
Oh, wow.
Your ownership also includes an undivided share of the entire property, everything. And the facilities like the clubhouse, the boathouse, the pool, the fitness center.
Hold on. So you own a piece of your cottage and a slice of the whole resort infrastructure. That's interesting.
Exactly. The material clarifies that all the owners are part of something called the Landscapes Resort Owners Association.
Okay, an association.
Yeah, and this association is the actual entity that holds the title, the deed, to all the physical assets. Buildings, furniture, equipment, even the boats, everything exclusive to the resort. Your ownership is as a member of that group.
Ah, okay, that clicks. So you're part of the collective that owns and manages the whole shebang.
Hmm.
Makes sense. What about longevity? Can you, keep this interval forever?
Yes, the material is clear on that. It says shares can be kept forever.
Okay. And what if, life changes down the road? Can you sell it?
You can. You can sell or transfer your intervals. The info mentions it's subject to certain procedures in the ownership agreement, so there are rules, naturally.
Sure, there'd have to be. And could you pass it on? Like in a will?
Yes, that's covered too. Shares can be willed to someone else.
Okay, so to recap, you own this interval, 10th of a unit, plus a share of the whole property through the association. It's yours potentially forever. You can sell it. You can will it. Now, the big question, I think, for anyone listening, how much time do you actually get at the landscapes with one of these intervals?
Right, the usage. For each interval you buy, the material specifies you get 5 weeks. 5 weeks of exclusive use of your residence each year.
5 weeks a year. That's pretty decent. How are they assigned? Is it just random or?
No, not random. This is where the structure gets quite detailed, actually. You get one prime summer week every single year, and that week is permanently fixed to your specific unit. It's yours. Same week, same unit, year after year. Locked in.
Wow, okay. That fixed summer week, that's a big deal. Predictability in the best season. What about the other 4 weeks? And I think the material mentioned a bonus week too.
Correct. So the other 4 weeks are spread across fall, winter, and spring. And yes, there's an additional bonus week on top.
So 5-week standard plus a bonus. How do you pick those non-summer ones?
For selecting those, they use a rolling priority number system. Each year, you get a different priority number for choosing your fall-winter weeks, and then a second priority number for picking your spring and bonus week.
A rolling priority number.
Yeah.
So it changes year to year. That sounds like it's designed to be fair over time, right? So the same people don't always get first dibs on, say, Thanksgiving or a long weekend in spring.
Exactly. That seems to be the goal equity in selecting those shoulder and off-season weeks.
Makes sense. Okay, that covers using the time yourself. But what if life gets in the way? You've got your week booked, but you can't make it. Is that time just lost?
No, there seems to be flexibility built in. The material states pretty clearly that if you can't use your residence during your assigned time, you can let family or friends enjoy it instead.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Or you actually have the option to rent it out yourself.
Really? You can rent it out. Are there rules around that or having guests?
Yes, definitely rules. You have to notify the management beforehand who's going to be occupying the unit. That's a must.
Okay, a heads up.
And naturally, any guests or renters have to follow all the resort rules. The material uses the phrase good neighbors, basically act responsibly towards the other owners sharing the space.
Right, standard stuff for shared property. Speaking of rules and neighbors, what does the material say about managing the property itself? Like occupancy limits, cleaning, that sort of thing.
There is a definite occupancy limit per residence. No more than 8 people at any one time.
Max 8 people. Got it. And the changeover day. When one owner leaves and the next arrives, who handles getting the place ready?
This seems to be a core part of that carefree idea they emphasize. There's a dedicated 5-hour window between checkout time one week and check-in time the next.
5 hours.
And during that time, they say every residence is completely cleaned, all the linens are changed, they do an inventory check. The aim is, for your unit to be spotless and fully ready when you walk in the door.
So like a professional, almost hotel-style turnaround is part of the package.
Yeah.
What about just the general upkeep? Lawns mowed, buildings maintained?
Yep. Grounds maintenance is described as continuous across the property, and if something pops up during your stay, like a leaky faucet or whatever, there's an assistance number you can call.
Okay. And for the really big stuff, like roof repairs or major system maintenance for the whole resort.
The material mentions they handle that strategically. There's a scheduled 2-week closure period every November.
The whole place closes.
Seems so. For 2 weeks in November, specifically for major repairs and maintenance across the entire property. It allows them to tackle bigger projects without messing up owners' scheduled vacation time during the rest of the year.
Consolidating the big maintenance into a set period. That sounds pretty smart, actually. Less disruption. Did the material mention anything about, like, water and sewer?
Yes, it notes that the landscapes got connected to Municipal Services Water and Sewer back in the summer of 2006.
Good to know. It's on town services. Okay, so beyond the unit itself and the essential property management, what else is included or available for owners based on what we've seen?
Well, a dedicated storage locker comes with the purchase of an interval. That's included.
Oh, nice. Where are those?
Located in the basement area of your unit. So convenient for storing personal stuff you might want to leave there between your visits. Skis, maybe some extra clothes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that is super convenient. Saves hauling everything back and forth. Any restrictions on what you can keep in there?
Yes, they are specific. No flammable items, no toxic stuff, and no perishable goods. Pretty standard safety precautions.
Makes sense. Okay, it's right on Lake of Bay, so water access has got to be key. What does the material say about boats?
You can moor your own boat at a specific dock, but only during your weeks of occupancy.
Okay, so for your 5 weeks, you can bring your boat up. What if you don't have your own boat? Are you just landlocked?
Nope. The material also states that owners get access to and use of the resort's non-motorized watercraft while they're staying there.
Ah, like what?
Things like canoes, kayaks, paddle boats, paddle boards, even rowboats. Those are available for owner use.
Nice. So the basic water toys are provided. That covers a lot. What about beaches? Does it mention beaches?
It does. It highlights 2 wonderful, wide, fine, sandy beaches right there on the property. Good for swimming, sunbathing, the usual beach stuff.
Okay, sounds like the classic Muskoka cottage experience is pretty much built in. Let's shift to the residences themselves, the places you'd actually own a piece of. Where exactly is the landscapes?
The material puts it just 2 hours north of Toronto, and interestingly, it says it's within walking distance to the town of Baysville.
Oh, walking distance to town. That's handy. Easy run for groceries or ice cream?
Seems like it.
And the units themselves, what are they like inside?
Described as beautifully appointed, and they come fully furnished and fully equipped. You just show up.
Turnkey, basically. What kinds of layouts?
Looking at the types mentioned, the cottages are 3 bedrooms. They specify the master bedroom is on the main floor and has its own private and suite bathroom.
Okay, main floor master's nice.
And then the villas come in either 2 or 3 bedrooms, plus they have a den area as well.
So a few different options depending on how much space you need.
Got it. Now, one detail that's often a big deal for people is pets. Can you bring your dog? What's the policy?
Ah, yes, pets. The material is very direct about this. Residences are explicitly designated as either pet-free or pet-friendly.
Designated. So you buy into one type or the other.
That seems to be the implication. And they say this policy isn't flexible, it's strictly enforced.
Strictly enforced. Why so rigid?
The reason given in the material is because of potential allergies among other owners. Severe pet allergies where even residual dander could be a health risk for the next person in the unit.
Ah, okay. That makes sense in a shared ownership situation. Protecting everyone.
Exactly. So owners are asked to register their preference pet or no pet,
Yeah.
and the unit assignments reflect those fixed designations.
Right. Ensure someone with allergies doesn't end up in a pet-friendly unit by mistake.
Okay, we've covered the units, the ownership structure. Let's talk about the fun stuff,
Yeah.
the shared amenities. The heart of the community experience, right?
Yep.
The material lists quite a few.
It definitely does. A major feature seems to be the boathouse.
Okay, tell me about the boathouse. What's it like?
It's described as the main focal point right there on the Lake of Bay shoreline. Inside, there's a lounge area with a fireplace.
Cozy.
And then outside, a deck for sunbathing or just hanging out with drinks, enjoying the lake views. Sounds like the spot for lakeside relaxing.
Yeah, I could picture that. Watching the boats go by.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? There's a clubhouse mentioned too.
Yes, the clubhouse. Presented as the central community hub.
The main gathering place.
Seems like it. Inside, they mention a huge Muskoka fireplace. Gotta have that. Lots of comfy seating, a big screen TV, a billiards table.
Oh, billiards, nice.
And a dedicated games area stocked with cards, checkers, chess, Scrabble, that sort of thing. The material really frames it as a place for, mingling, making friends, maybe where they hold resort events.
So the social heart of the place. Any other spots within the clubhouse?
Yeah, there's apparently an open stairway leading up to what they call a library loft.
A loft library. Interesting.
Described as maybe a quieter space, perhaps for reading or just getting away from the main buzz downstairs.
A quiet zone within the social hub. That's a thoughtful touch. Okay, beyond the boathouse and clubhouse, what about more active stuff? Pools, fitness?
Yep, there's a heated outdoor pool and lounging areas around it poolside, but also rooftop patios apparently located on the boathouse.
Rooftop patios on the boathouse overlooking the pool and lake. Okay, that sounds pretty nice.
Doesn't it? And yeah, you got to have a pool, especially when you don't have to clean yourself.
Amen to that. What about indoor fitness?
There is a fitness room available, equipped, they say, with free weights and cardio machines, treadmills, exercise bikes, the usual suspects.
Good. Nice to have access to a gym right there. What about winter? When the lake's frozen, any cold weather activities?
Yes. The material specifically mentions a large outdoor rink for winter use.
An ice rink. Okay, skating, maybe some pickup hockey.
Exactly. So it sounds like they've thought about year-round recreation, summer and winter.
Good point. Anything else outdoorsy, like trails?
Yes, actually. The material notes there are walking trails that run through the forest area behind the buildings right there on the property.
Nice. Access to a bit of nature right outside your door. Okay, wow. We've really dug into these specifics here based on the material provided, from the ownership model, the weeks, the rules, the amenities, everything. Let's try and connect this back for someone listening. What does all this detail suggest is the main appeal, the core promise of this specific approach at the landscapes?
Well, based on this breakdown, the central promise really seems to be delivering that carefree vacation experience. That word keeps coming up.
Right.
And specifically, they seem to achieve that by taking the big burdens of traditional cottage ownership off your hands, the detailed management of cleaning, maintenance, groundskeeping, even scheduling those major repairs. That's the mechanism.
And the material seems to position this structure, the specific rules, the included services, as the way to make vacations potentially more enjoyable and affordable compared to, say, buying your own cottage outright.
I think that's exactly it. It's offering you dedicated time in a residence, plus access to all these amenities, pool, clubhouse, boats, in a really prime location like Lake of Bays, but without you having to personally manage the property headaches or shoulder the entire, multi-million-dollar cost and upkeep yourself. It's framed as buying the time and the access, not the full 24/7 responsibility.
Yeah, it sounds like the goal, according to this material, is really to strip away all the chores and the big ongoing costs that come with full ownership, leaving you with just the enjoyable part, the actual vacation.
That's certainly the proposition that comes through from the details we've looked at.
Okay, so if someone's listening to this deep dive and thinking, this specific setup at the landscape sounds interesting, how can they find out more, according to the material we analyzed?
Right. The material gives specific contact info. There are two names, Elaine Arbuckle, and her number is 705-646-3203.
Okay, Elaine Arbuckle.
And Stephen Keeshan at 705-641-8824.
Got it. And who are they?
They're identified as realtors with Royal LePage Lakes of Muskoka Realty Brokerage, which is located right there in Baysville, so the local experts.
Makes sense.
You can contact either of them with more questions or to ask about, what intervals might actually be available right now.
Excellent. Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. This deep dive into the provided material shows fractional ownership at Claire. The landscapes means owning a share and interval of a specific unit, plus the whole resort property via that owners association.
Right.
You get dedicated time, 5 weeks, including that really valuable fixed summer week, plus a rolling system for the other weeks. There's flexibility to let others use your time. And, crucially, the model described packs in comprehensive management. Cleaning, maintenance, upkeep, all handled, aiming squarely for that carefree experience in a prime spot.
Yeah, it definitely presents a very distinct package. Different benefits, different responsibilities compared to buying your own place or even some other shared models you might see.
Absolutely. Which kind of leaves us with this final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. After hearing all these specific details from the source material, the fixed versus rolling weeks, the mandatory cleaning schedule, the rules on guests and pets, that whole list of amenities, how does this particular definition of carefree actually stack up against your personal ideal for getting away? Does this balance of shared ownership, set usage time, and built-in management, as it's described here, truly resonate as a way to make vacations feel more enjoyable and affordable for you? Something to think about.